Welcome back to a look at my favorite horror movies, and if you missed the first part, numbers 35 down to 21 are in that part, go and check it out, and then we'll be getting into the top 10 in the next video. So for now, we're going to continue on with number 20, the horror classic The Wolfman. There are a lot of Universal horror movies that are kind of right in a row here in the middle of the list, because they are the type of movie that I saw them all pretty much at the same time in just a sort of a marathon. That's how I experienced a lot of the old Universal horror movies, was being a kid and just some monster movie marathon. The first time I saw them, I was really young and just saw them all like that. And throughout the years, so many of them I like for so many reasons that are so parallel in so many ways, that they're just so close that there are one or two that I like a lot more, but they're all very close in how much I enjoy them, so they're all kind of smashed right here in the middle. Number 20 is The Wolfman. Number 19, The Phantom of the Opera, the original Lon Chaney. One that sneaks in here, Nosferatu, which I think has a better overall atmosphere and I find to be more terrifying than the next one up here, number 17, Dracula. But I do enjoy Dracula a little bit more for its characters and storytelling. I just got a little more involved from that aspect than Nosferatu, but Nosferatu I think is the more thrilling, more frightening picture between the two. Number 16 is Frankenstein, and then my top two of the Universal horror, the horror of that era, definitely number 15, Bride of Frankenstein, which Frankenstein is more the classic, I think, overall. It's the one that more images aside from the bride herself are going to come to mind. But Bride of Frankenstein, I just feel, weaves a better tale in a way. I just think they work together perfectly. I mean, I think it's a great package, and more so than many of the other Universal horror movies, the sequel really becomes a necessary component to the first. Bride of Frankenstein, number 14, then, is The Mummy. I really enjoy the Mummy franchise, those movies, more so than many of the others, but that first one especially, I just think that they did such a fantastic job, and for some reason that one, when I first saw it, stood out to me more than any of the others. Something about it visually just captured my attention, and then I was just enraptured in the atmosphere and storytelling of it. Number 13, It, with not the newer ones that came out, but Stephen King's It, the original miniseries. It's fantastic on TV. One of the big reasons that this is so high on my list is Tim Curry. I really like Tim Curry, a big fan of so much of his work, that is one of the greatest elements. I think if someone else was in this role, this would be a lot lower, maybe still on the list, but still a lot lower than this placing. But I really like the way this is laid out, especially as a miniseries, and even this cut, which is the movie cut where it's put together as just one long thing rather than two parts. I enjoy it because it gives it a little more room to breathe, and I like the almost Goonies feel to the segments with the kids, with of course like a little bit more of a dark twist, and just the way that portion is portrayed. I think I was right around the age of what those characters would have been in the flashback sequences when it came out, and I just felt that I related to them in some way, and it really, that brought it to a whole new level of enjoyment because I kind of personalized it a little bit. And then of course when they grow up and things get a little more terrifying, it's just fantastic. And I think the number one thing, again, I love horror comedy, and the one thing that holds this together and makes it one of my absolute favorites, again, is Tim Curry's portrayal, where there was this, even as a kid watching it, it was simultaneously terrifying, spooky, creepy, not in a jump scare kind of way, but in an eerie way that was almost stalkerish, and at the same time had this little bit of a humor to it, and this little bit of a tongue-in-cheek humor that it made you kind of chuckle almost uncomfortably. And again, watching it as an adult, it's the same sort of feeling where it's just this interesting blend and balance, and like he could kill them at any time, but it's not about that. It's about the game, really. It's about the slow torture in a way. It has just a wonderful quality to it that I find completely completely and utterly enjoyable from start to finish. Every time I watch it, it's one of my favorites. It just, again, has that great balance to where it has these humorous, funny moments. It's never, jump out of your pants terrifying, but it has this eerie, creepy quality to it, and it's more an investment in the story. And I saw it before reading the book. Again, reading the book then, I really enjoyed that as well. And I don't know. I really love this movie, and I think Tim Curry really makes this one of my absolute favorites. One here, we have a double pack here. One that didn't quite make the list, but came close, and then one that did make the list. The one that did make it is The Fog. Number 12, The Fog, an underrated John Carpenter movie. I think one of his better movies. I know he wasn't quite happy with it even after the reshoots and things, but to me, I, again, love a good ghost story. I love when the terror is not as tangible. I really love that type of horror when the atmosphere is done right and when you care about the setting and the characters, and that is why The Fog really works for me, because it has all those things that I personally look for in a really good horror movie. It has the sense of style that really clicks with me from a time period I really enjoy. Lots of interesting characters. It's the type of place where I actually am fascinated by the town and the setting, and it's kind of the type of place that I would like to live in a way. It feels almost like a slightly more toned down version and slightly shorter version of this movie could be a story from, Are You Afraid of the Dark? It almost has that feel to it, and I loved that growing up, and it has that great kind of ghost story vibe to it, and I love that type of element of horror, so that makes it one of my absolute favorites. And we're almost in the top 10. First, number 11, my favorite, the quintessential, I think, 50s monster movie, Creature from the Black Lagoon. I saw this, I think it was the Sci-Fi Channel. I think it had to have been the Sci-Fi Channel late at night when I was a kid. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was like maybe it was like Turner Classic Movie. Who knows what the heck it was, what channel it was, but I know I resaw it on Sci-Fi for years. A movie that I never owned a copy because I saw it on TV so many Halloweens, and just remember absolutely loving it. I don't think, even as a kid, I was never really scared, I think, watching it. It's never a horror movie that I pictured to be terrifying when I think about it, but there's something about it that I just find to be unbelievably entertaining throughout the whole picture, and the look of everything just really clicks with me. Just something, when I think of a lot of those, especially 50s monster movies, there's so many good ones over the years, even some more recent ones like the Korean movie The Host, a good monster movie, but that time period, and when I think of even, say, the episode of Voyager when they're watching a monster movie and they have the glasses on, when I think of that type of horror, that kind of pop culture moment, this is the movie that comes to my mind for some reason, and I've always enjoyed it. I've never not enjoyed it. I really want to see it in 3D at home. That would be fantastic. I know there's a 3D Blu-ray out there. I'd love to grab that, because I just find this movie to be so enjoyable that it almost cracked my top 10. There's something about this movie that I've always loved.